Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another Let's Discuss Death Battle ranking video. We will be ranking Season 9. With me, as always, is Billy Bobby.
Good job on the second take there, mate.
And Shawnee Boy.
It's time for us to get controversial. My favorite topic.
We've never been controversial in the past. Never at all.
Yeah.
Talk to the guy who had Machamp versus Goro on number 18.
Did I have that at number 18? I really like that episode.
I thought that was Sean who did that.
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you were referring to me for a moment. I was like, I love that episode. I don't know what you're talking about.
Alright, so, much like the last couple seasons, these guys have both sent me their respective rankings. I've had my own. And I used the dark power of maths to just, score every episode and then come to a respective ranking. Just basically, if it was number 16 on somebody's list, then it had 16 points. Number 1 point. And the ranking I just did by golf rules, so whichever got the lowest score would be the collective number 1. We did have a couple ties, but I just split them by, okay, so 2 out of 3 put this episode higher, so it's going to be higher on the ranking. Seems fair, right?
Makes it easy.
Alright. Now, shall we get started?
Yay!
Us.
Alright, number 16. Jason versus Michael.
Wow.
I should say that is also on my list. It is at number 16.
Well, I have it as, oddly funny enough, 13.
So do I.
So, the most hyped up Halloween matchup. Blunked. It kinda is sad because, they got so many people were looking forward to Jason versus Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I still like the episode.
I've actually seen we could be in the minority about this, because surprisingly, a lot of people who say this is a really good episode, I've seen it on some people's top 5, so I'm like, okay, well, clearly entertained someone, but someone who's a big fan of, like, slasher and horrors, and especially Halloween movies, this one didn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I did find out in the commentary they were gonna go a bit more into the whole, like, just parodying a horror film. Apparently there was talks of them, like, could they do a sex scene?
Yes, because that's a reference to Friday the 13th movies.
I don't know, I know what they were trying to go for, having it be like a slasher film, but I also kind of think they could have just briefly brushed over that and just had them fight.
Yeah.
Battle fans surprisingly don't want that. They might want something small to it, like, I don't know, girls run away, Michael's about to kill her, and then Jason steals her, and that's why they fight. Maybe there's like collateral damage as they're fighting, they accidentally catch someone in the blade.
I mean, it does give off the horror vibes, especially during the analysis portions, at least.
Yeah, and I love how they did that with the whole crew just around a campfire, and one by one they start disappearing.
That was a nice touch, but to me that was like the only positive episode for me. Death was, I will say, a lot, probably at least the top 5 this season, but that's not really saying much given how I feel of all the deaths this season to begin with.
Yeah, that was a creative kill, and like a brutal kill you would want in a horror movie. The only thing that kind of lingered on was just that shot of Jason walking away.
Yeah, that was lingered on a bit too much.
And many people in the reactions I watch are kind of thinking like Michael's going to reattach his head or something.
I think what also kind of hurts this episode is just it doesn't really feel like an actual fight, whereas it feels like an actual horror thing. It's like a double-edged sword of sorts. Like, it's cool, but it doesn't provide that much action. We got more action when Jason and Freddy fought compared to this one.
You know, that is actually kind of sad. The moment Freddy versus Jason had more fights.
Oof.
The environment itself was pretty cool though. I think Devil Artemis did his best with what he had.
Oh yeah, totally. And you know what? Also in the fight, I like the reference to Michael just like pinning someone up against the door with his knife, just doing that to Jason, but to a tree.
Yeah, it was a nice little bit of fan service there for the Halloween fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like the biggest reason is this doesn't feel like a typical death battle fight, and a lot of people aren't that big on it. I thought Michael looked great, but Jason looked kind of skinny.
I don't get what people are saying. That's literally his model taken from Mortal Kombat.
It's actually his Friday the 13th game model.
I mean, that just goes to show they're not too different then, because...
Regardless, kind of sucks that it's this low on the list, because I know, like, someone in particular, this was their most wanted. And it's a matchup a lot of people are looking forward to, but it kind of underperformed in a weird sort of way.
Yeah, although in my case, like, at least the bunch of episodes I placed above it, I just enjoyed them that little bit more.
Yeah, and to
It's
be
also
fair,
valid.
it is positively received by the Death Battle community, so it has that going for it. I think this could just be where we're in the minority for this one.
It's valid.
Another matchup which many people have put at the bottom, which honestly I'm not too surprised by, because it's right next to it on my list.
So, shall we move on to 15? You cow, I didn't really hear you.
Let's do it.
Okay. Number 15, Black Adam versus Apocalypse.
I had it at exactly 15.
Okay, that's surprising, because I had that at number 12.
I had that at 14.
Oof.
So, honestly, fight was pretty cool. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, the environment they were fighting in, gorgeous. The track, while rap might be a bit of a weird choice for these two, I can't deny it's catchy as fuck.
I actually wasn't that big on this soundtrack.
Reason I have it at number 12, so above 3 more episodes. One, I'm a huge Black Adam fan, so of course I was excited when he was teased for the second half. My gripe with it though not being in like the top 10 for me was mainly due to the fact Black Adam wasn't really given that much respect in his analysis. It really just felt, and upon rewatching it, because originally I was going to have this at number 10, then when I was rewatching it for the ranking, really just felt like they just wanted to get through Black Adam's analysis as quickly as they can. It almost felt like there was no enthusiasm for Black Adam from Wiz and Boomstick.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Even
be...
in the commentary I watched, it did... Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were talking. Alright, to end off my final point about that, with the analysis-wise, even in the commentary, because I actually did watch some of the commentaries for these when I was also trying to see how they treated the episode. Yeah, even in their commentary, they did not sound like they really cared that much about this episode. However, there was talks that this was meant to promote the Black Adam film, so I wouldn't be surprised maybe they just put it in there for commercial.
I mean, the Death Battle cast was sponsored by the Black Adam movie when this was coming out.
Yeah, so it does feel like maybe that was just a quick buck episode for them. In saying that though, the fight was entertaining and the death was pretty brutal, and I like the soundtrack. So for that, I think it does put it above the other 3 I have. Do I frequently go back to watch this episode as much? Not really, no. I mostly just listen to the music on SoundCloud.
I do think that with the voice actors they got the characters down pretty well as far as voice acting went.
I will admit, hearing Black Adams go Shazah shit, very out of character, but fucking hilarious.
Yeah, admittedly.
You've not much to really say about it. I do think maybe 15's a bit harsh, because you can definitely tell the animators went all out when it came to the fight.
Yeah, I mean, like, those shots where, like, Apocalypse just, like, grows giant, like, and you just have that thought, holy crap, he's huge. Like, when it's just, like, the moonlight behind him, and you just see the silhouette.
That's what she said.
Nice.
Oh god, that just reminded me of that one meme I saw where when it's Black Adam looking surprised, someone edited in a long shadow on top of Apocalypse's shadow. Can't remember who did it, but just say Tef Adam was going to have a big taste of some Apocalypse.
I had someone else I was going to say. Oh yeah, about the analysis. I feel like they made like Apocalypse sound a bit more grandiose than Black Adam.
I even feel like for Apocalypse, he was just kind of rushed through as well, really. That's why, because I feel like if you're going to do a death battle analysis, and this is also advice for people who do the show in general, you can't show both awesome, and you've got to be enthusiastic about talking about them. Otherwise, it could just make you not want to watch the analysis. There wasn't even really anything that funny in the analysis.
Yeah, like, it wasn't really entertained by anything in the analysis. It was informal, but that's about it.
Yeah, so that's why what's funny is enough, the bonus episode that was paid for promotion had more enthusiasm in the analysis and funnies.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we should say we're unfortunately not including Excalibur vs. Raiden on this because, well, it's a bonus episode. We didn't include the 7 Battle Royale when we did Season 7. So, bit of consistency.
People are wondering where I would have it on my list. Between 8 and 7, not going to say what's above or below it, but let's just say it was a pretty good episode.
I would have had it at number 1.
Really?
Damn.
It had so much good presentation, and the fight was really epic.
Yeah, it was. I do go back to watching, mainly just for the music.
Oh, the music is so good. Anyway, back to Black Adam Apocalypse.
Yeah, that doesn't that just prove people how we felt about this episode?
You know what? I think that sums it up.
There we go.
I've said my piece. It's not in the top 10. It was a lot better than I originally thought it was going to be, but as a Black Adam fan, and I really feel like if I was an Apocalypse fan, which I'm not, I will admit he was more impressive than how he was in the movie. Just didn't really make me go hype, like, oh, I'm going to read some of his comics. I was like, he's kind of cool. Hope the MCU does him better than Fox does. Doesn't make him twerk like She-Hulk. Okay, the internet would explode if that happens.
Oh my god.
Oh, they would make him do the gritty first.
No, imagine Apocalypse shows up and the first thing he does is the default Fortnite dance.
Oh my god. You need to try and find a way to edit that in. There was so many funny Bolt dances I've seen. There must be one for Apocalypse.
I doubt it. I mean, I'll look it up on YouTube just in case, but we'll see.
Well, I've said my piece, episode I think deserves to be a bit higher, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over this. Like, you animated sure don't know what they're talking about. It's not in my top 10.
That's how you were with last year's ranking.
Opening old wounds.
Is that the cue to move on?
14.
Alright, oh boy. Number 14 is Tundra versus Jonathan.
I hate you both so fucking much.
Oh god, I feel like I have to justify my reasoning, but you know what, mate? How about you take the ball first?
Where did you two put it?
14.
I put it at 16.
This was my number 2.
Yeah, this is why when doing the ranking I felt a little bad.
Alright, well, mate,
You
since
two
you put
can
it
go on your
lower,
negative rants. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, mate, since you put it lower, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, honestly, I just felt like... Just like the way some of it was, like, written and, like... It just kind of, like, took me out of it sometimes. Like, the way they wrapped up Tanjiro's analysis, where it was just like... him and the rest of his friends are gonna fight for humanity. And whatever this guy is. That kind of just killed the mood for me. And then, like, the start of the fight, when Jonathan's doing his whole, on my honor as a gentleman, I will free you! The music, like, builds up, so you're like, oh yeah, fight time! Oh, I'm sorry, sir, did you hit your head? I don't get it, was that meant to be funny?
That's actually something that happens in Demon Slayer, so I think if you were more of a Demon Slayer fan, then yeah, you would probably have found that on character and funny.
I mean, yeah, maybe, but... Yeah, it just kind of took me out of the moment, and while I do like what they did with the emotional ending, I won't lie, the emotional endings in Death Battle can be a bit hit or miss for me.
Is that your final say on it? Is there something else you want to bring up?
I mean, more or less.
Okay, well, for me, why I put it at 14, because, yeah, it was slightly better than Jason versus Michael, and the 15th place I have on my thing. I was rewatching it. I should probably also say, originally, this was going to be just underneath where I was going to have Black Adam versus Apocalypse in my original. It was going to be at number 11. I do agree, my gripe was, yeah, I do agree with the analysis was, again, it just felt rushed. I will admit, the little, when they did that whole Tundra end bit where he's like, save the world with this group, and this thing. Like, if knowing the context of that character, it's pretty funny. Because he is a bit of a wacky character. I can't remember his name, I just refer to him as Pighead David.
Inosuke, I think his name is.
Inosuke, okay. Still like Pighead David. My main gripe is, of course, I have watched a bit more JoJo, so I did actually go into a bit more of a positive outlook on Jonathan. Of course, when I think of these two fighting from watching JoJo and Demon Slayer, it's very flashy, their fights, and one thing I always praised Demon Slayer when we were talking about it during the prediction, Tanjiro's fights are like a spectacle to watch with all the elemental things. It almost feels like art just shooting at you. Like, I'm sure mate will put some like GIFs on the screen just to evaluate my point, hopefully.
Yay, more editing.
Oh no, it gives so much work. but when you see these like effects, it looks beautiful. But they tried to replicate that in the fight, which I appreciate. It just looked shit. The water was just awful. The fire effects, it really looked like they just got like a sprite sheet of like those GIF fireballs that you would see in like YouTube poops. Just put it on them. I will say, when it was the final bit of the fight, when Tanjiro stabbed Jonathan and there was that fire blast, it was pretty cool. And of course, everyone knows, if you've seen the thumbnail of my when we did the review of this, I thought the emotional bit was too fucking funny. But then I found out that was meant to be super serious, and the acting was meant to be super serious. It's like, and so Jonathan, the actor for Jonathan, was good at portraying like the honorable sort of hero, not the emotional point. I am sorry.
Could you imagine if this fight was playing in like a big theater, and at that moment everyone's getting super emotional? You're just in the back laughing your ass off, and everyone's just like, "The fuck is wrong with you?"
Yeah, because I'm surprised I've seen people in comments and also in like Discord stuff like saying, "Oh man, that bit was touching." I'm like, it was funny. All right, that was funny. The acting for that was just so cheesy. Like, and that's kind of what took me out of the whole like emotional bit when he's reaching for Nezuko. I am sorry, people. I just found that really bad acting at the last portion of that just too funny for me. I will say, they do have some other emotional or even respectful ends in this fight that I did actually grow to thought, okay, yeah, they clearly improved upon after that. And that's all I got to say. So, Sean, do you want to rip us apart with why you have it at number 2?
Okay. This is my number 2 for a lot of reasons. First of all, the analysis was funny with Jonathan's analysis, especially that ending joke. I thought that was great.
Oh yeah, the whole list of Ripple is do 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 do.
Yes, that was hilarious. I learned a good amount of Tundra, and it made me feel like this was a lot closer than anybody gave it credit for, especially when this episode got announced. Then, of course, there was the fight, and it was really good. Sure, like, yeah, the water didn't look great, but everything else was really awesome. The hand-drawn shots with the mix of sprites on 3D background worked super well. Sword clashing, really well done. Voice acting was acted great as Sandro, and Benji delivered so well on Jonathan. And the music with the background worked so well. This fight in particular, Breathless Wade's really good with this fight. A little color change towards the climax, which they never did in any JoJo episode up until this point. I thought that was a nice little detail. And I thought the ending was sad, and it didn't make me feel bad, especially like towards the end before it fades to black, you see Jonathan reach out and Nezuko kind of like not fully grab Jonathan's hand, which I thought was a nice little detail.
At least she was going into a demon form. Because, well, not her demon form, basically she turns into like a fully grown woman with like sharp claws and stuff, but you do see briefly that her claws come out, so kind of hinting that she attacked Jonathan.
Yeah, I think Liam mentioned on either cast or commentary, he at least likes to believe that eventually Nezuko will warm up to Jonathan. Eventually. And it's also left open-ended, so it's up to viewer interpretation.
Someone who's watched Demon Slayer, she would not.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, sure.
And honestly, that final overdrive from Benji was so dope. One of the best screams that I heard all season, honestly, for a climax. And trust me, there was a lot of good ones. Good. Yes. Like, the actual death itself was a nice little touch of, like, Jonathan stopping the heart and everything. It's in character, too, and they captured the characterization really well.
It was this episode that made me start to think, oh, how are the deaths going to be for the rest of the season?
I'll say there was a lot of solid moments in the fight. The analysis was funny. I just loved this episode entirely. It was my number 1 for quite some time originally. Another episode took that place.
I can only imagine.
That's all I'm going to say, other than screw you guys, I know what it feels like now. And no Mate's Pain of Ryuko versus Shadow.
I forgot about that, thank you.
Yeah, I think looking back on it, I probably would put it much higher than I originally gave it. I think we were just a little bit too harsh on it, given our opinion of Shadow changed over the years.
We move on to the Unlucky 13?
Yep.
Oh, I dread it.
Number 13 is Hercules versus Sun Wukong.
Okay, that's not too bad, honestly.
Okay, for me, that fight is at number 11. Funny enough, on my list, it's funny enough, 2 of the thumbnails featuring Dwayne are right next to one another.
I have Hercules versus Sun at number 10.
I have it at 11.
That's pretty much where I have it as well, so I think, yeah, 10 or 11's... Oh, sorry, no, you said 14 then, or 13, didn't you?
This is 13.
Right, I do think maybe it should be a little bit higher, but, it is what it is.
So yeah, mythology is on the table for Death Battle.
And biggest thing I feel like a lot of people are undermining when it comes to this episode is how exactly they handle mythology, which was very well. There's actually a popular mythology YouTuber, I think he has over 1 million subs, or possibly 2 million at this point, called the Mythology Guy. who goes
I've
in depth
watched
with
it.
goes into depth about all this mythology. His channel is based around this. Actually reacted to this episode and even agreed that Death Battle handled this very well. Like, the characters were exactly how they were depicted. The only question is why he called it they called it Hercules versus Sun Wukong. That was about it.
Well, because I think the name Hercules is more well known than Heracles.
I mean,
Yeah,
to be fair, this guy's the mythology guy, so he's allowed to be nitpicky.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who dedicates his whole channel to looking into mythology, so yeah, I think he has more... Like, I think that people who either do debunks about things when it comes to Death Battle, I think have the right to give some criticism if they got something wrong. But if you're an asshole about it, then fuck off.
Yeah. I feel like that's the biggest positive for this episode, is just it handled mythology very well.
And it opens up future mythology fights, like one I brought up, I would love to see Typhon versus Cthulhu.
Do we agree, though, on one thing about this episode? This was the worst death of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Probably because they mentioned who won before he won.
Actually, mate, I should actually probably say, when I was rewatching it, I didn't realise this, but in the background, you can actually see Hercules is like, astral plane form, whatever it was called, actually impaled by Wukong's staff, but because of how flashy that was, you don't see it.
Yeah, it's hard to make out on, like, first couple of viewings.
Funny enough, how is it that death looks more brutal than the actual death of the physical body of Heracles?
The Sponk, Yoda scream.
That's pretty much the death. I will say, the fight itself was entertaining. I loved learning a lot of the analysis. I also love the fact how they just make fun of the fact Wukong is just basically an anime protagonist from back then. And when you think about it, he's the OG anime. Yeah, aside the death, the fight was good. Do you think the sound effects, when I re-listened to it, did sound a bit too cartoony? These two?
A little bit.
Heracles is using his arrows, which looks too funny. All you need to put is Zoidberg sound effect when he's spinning around and...
I know what you mean.
as he's shooting them. I get they're trying to make it seem like he's super fast with his arrows, but because of how the sprite is moving, it just looks derpy as hell. And with the little... it just made it more funnier for me. One of the highlights when it came to the humour, though, was his son going, "Behold me, the immortal Monkey King!" Multiple heads. Of course. Yeah, I just think it was a fun episode. I do occasionally go back to rewatch it, but it's only just slightly about to touch number 10 on my list.
And for me, it just makes the top 10, mostly because of how well handled mythology was for its first ever debut.
Yeah, I also have to admit, when I was watching it for the first time, specifically Sun's analysis, there were parts where I was just like, that explains so much. Because I'll be honest, I didn't know the whole story about Sun Wukong.
Oh, okay then.
So just like, yeah, some characters I know based on him, I was just like, yeah, this explains everything. Also, that whole "can he beat Goku" line.
That's a debate idea.
Yes, Sun would win.
I might want to argue that. Another time, though.
Yeah. So, we going on to number 12?
I've said my piece.
I think I'm satisfied with what I said.
Okay. Number 12. Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna.
Okay.
Oh. This one.
Read that.
Magic!
Read that. Boobies.
legs.
I had this as my number 16.
I had this as starting my top 10.
I had this at 6.
Oh, that's kind of surprising for me.
Sure, I guess you have some explaining to do, young man.
Okay, so I'm going to start this off. Zatanna, entertaining throughout the whole fight. That's the only positive I got.
Fair enough.
So what puts us at number 16? It's not the typical, Marvel vs. DC, baloney. Because baloney's actually good.
Glad you tried baloney.
I like it, but it wasn't. It's one of the biggest gripes I had with Pro vs. Iron Fist on last year's ranking. I was bored during the analysis. There was nothing that kind of entertained me like at all during the analysis portions of this episode. Which is ironic given Zatanna's character.
I suppose that is true.
Post analysis definitely depict this as a really, really close fight because these two can do anything.
Yeah, I mean, they said at the end, analyzing it was like walking on a tightrope.
I think
really
the season finale are the closest fights this season.
Honestly, this... I think people make comparisons to this versus Strange versus Fate in a lot of different ways. And, like, another big downside was the music in the background. I barely noticed music in the background for this. It just wasn't for me.
This was the worst soundtrack for me. That's why it's only just in number 10. It's like the music wasn't memorable.
And while I did enjoy the accent they gave for Wanda, I wasn't really entertained by anything that she did. Not that big on her as a character after the analysis, because, like, I know a bit about Scarlet Witch because of, you know, the X-Men and everything, but not fully sold on thinking she's a really character for me, personally.
Over the years, Scarlet Witch has received a lot of backlash, and it started getting good with the MCU. Then it started again thanks to Multiverse of Madness.
I will say, that movie made her terrifying.
Stupid, in my opinion.
I just wish the analysis entertained me, especially Zatanna's analysis, because she was entertaining throughout this whole fight.
Oh yeah, especially that Megamind reference.
Which we recreated as a meme of the fucking day in our own way.
I would say it, but I'm starting to try to move away from that meme for next season, just saying.
Speaking of the
I don't believe you.
Bill, why don't you give anything you want to touch up on?
Okay, because I have this at my number 10. So, going into this, I was pretty excited about it, especially after Multiverse of Madness. And, well, admit, I did know of Zatanna. The only thing I remember was in Young Justice and the Batman animated series when she appeared. I never went out of my way to read her comic books or anything like that. One of the things that I thought was quite funny is in her analysis, when it shows her feet on the sidebar, it shows putting up with Constantine. Just like, yeah, that is a feat. He's a hard man to please. Because I originally was going into this thinking, yeah, Scarlet Witch should easily destroy her. I don't believe she's tackled many threats that she has. But then when I was looking into this for our predictions, I was pleasantly surprised to be like, oh no, Zatanna is actually quite a powerhouse. In fact, she has at some points reached out to the readers and the writers of DC to change an outcome. That, okay, maybe she is more powerful than I thought. I really still thought Scarlet was going to win. The reason it's also in my top 10, one, the fight was entertaining. Zatanna stole the show, literally. The bit where she's juggling the universes and just
that was
them
cute.
And of course, that infamous smile by that face has stolen everyone's hearts. And of course, she killed Scarlet Witch. Especially after watching Multiverse of Madness, you will enjoy this episode much more, just saying. Because, oof, man, just seeing Zatanna win by... I love the fact as well, how she won. The death itself was okay, I loved how she used Scarlet Witch's "No More" insert and used it on her. Like, that was genius.
Yeah, that was a good turnaround.
Not much to really say. Oh, actually, one more thing: the facial expressions on the sprites, because this is when I started to notice like how much detail they were putting into the expressions. If you watch a lot of fan sprite animations and they include dialogue, you know they're not doing any like moving their mouths. They're just having the sprite there and just putting the voices over. I get it, it's hard work and probably cost a lot of hours. I love that Death Bat's gotten to this point now they can actually add expressions onto the sprites to make it more cinematic. And yeah, that's all I got. I think this is a good episode to start my top 10 best.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about like the details, I love how because when I was editing my reaction, just out of morbid curiosity, whenever Zatanna spoke backwards, I decided I'm gonna play this backwards just to make sure. Oh, okay, so they actually like edited the backward speak. I like that.
Yeah.
So you can hear what she's actually saying if you really want to. Also, just like after the rabbits like become playing cards, and you know Superman shows up. If you pause and like look, those are cards from the Death Battle card and dice game. I love that detail so much.
I feel like because of the little details they've put in the background for a lot of these fights this season, there should be someone who dedicates a series like watching it at like 0.25 time.
Yeah, just pointing out all the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, we get like a brief like Superman versus Hulk fight, which then becomes Wonder Woman killing Hulk, and then Thor killing Wonder Woman, and Thor goes off to fight Superman. So, hey, we got an Avengers versus Justice League fight.
Barely.
Well, come on, it's the closest we're gonna get, don't you think?
I don't know, I feel like at some point, if Death Battle was on their final season, I guarantee you that one of their final Marvel vs. DC would be Avengers vs. Justice League.
I mean, probably, in which case, R.I.P. the Avengers.
I don't know, they got some powerhouses. They have Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, so they have some powerhouses.
Yeah, but I mean, the Justice League have, like, Fate and Zatanna.
Technically, Zatanna's not a Justice League member. She's part of the Dark Justice League, basically edgelords. what did Death Battle say? Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh, Shadow the Hedgehog. I forgot about that joke.
Oh, that was great.
Shadow's just like the go-to for like edgy jokes. Like, remember when they did Hiei and they were just like, put a red stripe over him, he looks like a human shadow.
Oh, why'd you have to remind me of that?
Sorry.
No, you're not.
Oh.
Yeah, stuff like the Megamind reference, which is just hilarious. After the rabbit like claws Scarlet Witch's face, they actually keep those scratches on her sprite for a good while.
Really? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, even up to when she's like screaming and saying enough, no more sound. Like, I swear you can still see some of them.
There's some nice detail there. I like that.
Yeah, and just that whole like no more sound bit. That's just like, whoa.
I do. My favorite bit when Scarlet Witch thinks she made Zatanna disappear, and she just pretty much gives her the back and like the disappearing act is the first thing my father taught me. Just like, boom.
You know what? Someone needs to take Scarlet Witch's face, and at that point when she says "no more witches," and just that it was at this moment she knew she fucked up.
There probably is a meme of that. I guarantee you.
If there's not, then
idea.
The Death Battle fan base have disappointed me again.
Add it to the list of disappointments. Mate just pulls out the list and it just rolls all the way to Kentucky.
It'll be that scene from SpongeBob.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
I've said my piece now. It was a good episode. Good episode.
Yeah. Alright, so, next up, number 11. Bond versus Wick.
Bit higher than I gave it credit for.
That is surprising, because that's where I have Hercules versus Sun Wukong, and for where I have James versus John, 15.
I have it at 12.
I have it at 9.
Oof. Okay then, so I guess I need to do the explaining this time. Okay, I will say, when this episode came out, I thought it was going to be the worst this season. I was proven wrong. Yeah, I know people say this is a really good episode. I've seen people put in like their top 5, B tier for their list. And I want to make this clear, if you think this episode is really good, then credit to you. Someone who's watched both the films of both... Okay, I haven't watched every James Bond film, mostly just the Daniel Craig one, so I'm not a fanboy of James Bond. On Wick, though, I was excited that, I will say, I saw people in the comments saying this, that they were happy that on Wick, in the small time he's been on, is considered a good rival for James Bond. I'm like, okay, you know what? That's actually kind of fair, because many people don't really have an iconic character to fight James Bond, so the fact John Wick's gone up there to be a good challenger for him, I was like, okay, that's actually kind of cool. Then the fan base feel great. I was really surprised on the positive comments when I went back to rewatch this. I scrolled into the newest comments, the most popular. It's so much positivity in it. It was ridiculous.
Especially when you heard so many people say that this wasn't the best fight for either of them. To see that kind of turnaround is amazing.
Yeah, so I will say, you know what? It did get a positive reception, so that's why I probably put it higher than Jason versus Michael. But let's actually talk about the analysis. It was okay. I didn't have any problems with it, but there wasn't really anything memorable, The fight itself... Oh, man, yeah, I cannot look at it and say oh, this animation looks good. I can't. It looks like, before they had Source Filmmaker, it really looks like it was made in Gmod.
This was a Blender.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying it looks like it was animated in Gmod by just putting them in a motion, taking a picture. Gmod was kind of like digital stop motion. That's how it felt like.
Especially with Bond's Daniel Craig model. Ugh.
And what's funny is that they ripped that from one of the Daniel Craig games, and I'll probably send Mate an image just to put on screen as a comparison. When Daniel Craig's films came out on the 360, yeah, that's how old Daniel Craig is from playing James Bond, just saying, during the 360 era. His models look pretty good. And here, I don't know, it just doesn't look right. Will say, when they fell through the glass, which by the way was a funny moment with the pen, I lost count.
I love that.
I will say the music really kicked up to this point, blending both. I nearly said James Woods. Remember that when James Wood appeared in the fight?
James Wood shows up and just kills them both.
Ooh, piece of candy.
But he says that at the end of the fight. He goes, "Ooh, piece of candy, KO." When Bond's car smashed through the door, I nearly did it again. And the music started kicking up as it was trying to shoot John Wick, and then John Wick shoots the car controls and it starts spinning out of control. I was like,
right round.
Okay, now we. Well, does someone say something?
No, I was just making a joke because you said it was spinning round and I just go right round.
I'm sad I talked over that. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
That bit was really entertaining, and the music kicking up for it again was really good. It started getting tense. I was like, yeah. And then death as well. I will say was bloodier than most deaths we've had this season. But it wasn't really considering all the creative kills that have come out of the James Bond films and the John Wick movies. This felt like a pretty simple kill.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Even some of the classic Hitman game had the more creative kills than oh, chandelier dropping. I will admit, nice touch that he used his like little watch laser instead of just shooting at it. I was like, okay, you got a bit of creative there. And just John Wick just going, and just dying. Like, I don't know. I feel like he should have gone out fighting more.
Yeah, I mean, he did take the equivalent of like 3 shotgun blasts like to the chest and was still fighting.
Nice touch. You know, when they both shot each other for that last time, and it recreated the classic James Bond thing. I was like, okay, nice touch. I know it sounds like I'm talking a lot of positive about it, so I'm thinking,
I know,
Bill,
right?
why do you have it? And you have it at 15. Well, it took until like near the end of the fight to get good. And the majority of the fight, you're only slightly entertained. That's not enough for me. At least with Tundra versus Jonathan, it was an entertaining fight. It's just that the effects weren't good. That's why it's only slightly over.
Do you think also, dude, I still question why they brought in the car in the first place.
I think because people would have, some fans would have brought up, oh, if we did, like, how come you didn't have, like, their cars versing each other as well? It's like, John Wick's car is just a sports car, really.
Yeah, they addressed that in a black box at the end.
In the fight itself, it didn't really play a key part, because John Wick just pretty said, no cars allowed.
Yeah, it just adds a bit of chaos.
Yeah, but even then, even if they, whether they included a car or didn't, it would end all the same. Sorry, pardon me. Didn't mean to burn my microphone.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, that's why it's at 15 for me. There was some highlights, but those highlights came at the end. The analysis wasn't interesting. The actual animation doesn't look that good. Oh, I mean, I feel like the storyboard looked far more animated. So, this is at number 15 for me. I'm sorry, people. I know this is a really positive episode from fans and also Death Battle fans, but it's just not it for me. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of points that Bill said that I kind of agree with, but I feel like another big thing that helps why it's at number 12 for me is the voice acting for James and John was fantastic.
Oh yeah, both were great.
Stephen Kelly did a great job, I think, as Daniel Craig's Bond. And Mornell, she did phenomenal as Wick. It's like, she literally came off voicing Raiden, and then they were like, can you voice John Wick? Sure! I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, I would, like, if you told me without, like, I feel like if you told people, yeah, these two are voiced by the same person, they wouldn't believe you.
Yeah, I just hope, I think especially, like, Bill put this on the podcast, like, that shot of just Wick tossing the bar stool on, like, his body just turns, and he's no emotion.
It was very robotic.
Like a rock'em sock'em robot.
And now I'm just picturing that's how the fight went, and it just ends with, like, Mortal Kombat fatalities, head getting bucked off with the spine attached.
I do love the little detail at the end, too, of just the phone going dark. That was a nice little touch.
I suppose.
Hey, go ahead. I guess you had this the highest out of all of us.
Yeah, alright, something that definitely kept me entertained through the analysis. Okay, for starters, just the amount of Bond titles they were able to throw in there. And just Boomstick with the pen. Like, just clicking it constantly. I just thought...
Did you actually just pick up a pen just for that?
Yeah.
Whilst I was going mad, I was like, I can actually hear a pen in my head. I was like, oh no, that's actually...
Dustmate has blown up his own house.
Mate, how many times did you press that?
To be entirely honest, I lost count. Now, well, who knows, maybe this pen just blows up something else, like... Who knows?
Meanwhile,
just singing immaculate leather threads unraveling all the neck. Why is it always me?
Yeah, the whole, like, gag with the pen, and the payoff, like, at the very end of Boomstick being like, oh wait, I forgot about Octopussy, boom. The way they actually, like, sync up the whole, like, the winner is Bond. James Bond. Like, with the footage, I was like, I like it.
credit to the editor for that one.
Oh yeah.
I feel like
Just
editors for
credit-
these don't get as much credit as they do.
Yeah, editors need more credit for these things.
Need Oscars.
And yeah, well, I'll admit the animation wasn't the best. I just had fun with it. Like Bill said, the second half, I can agree, is definitely better with like how the music picks up, the car, and I kind of want to call back to something that I remember Brobuscus talking about, how I think we've all noticed that the Blender team aren't fantastic with close quarters combat. But it's at this fight, I think they've started to like not only like really like get that, but find ways to work around it. And yeah, I think like from the other two fights that, and it is two, yeah, it is, that come up later, like yeah, you can see that progression.
Maybe that could be a thing like we discussed. Maybe looking at progression of a lot of animators that have been around for some time. That could actually be an interesting topic. Like, especially Louise. Like, when you look at his first ever death battle and look at his animation now, definitely, they went places.
Oh, does that mean if we were to do that, we'd watch Terminator vs. RoboCop and then end with Blake Mikasa?
Oh yeah. What's Torian doing these days? Actually,
Is that Respawn
last time I
Studio,
heard-
remember?
oh, is he still working there?
Yep.
I hope he gets to like make his own game. I mean, I know it's owned by EA, so it's a bit, it's a risky business. But
I think he's
See, that's what we end. See, that's what we ended on. Just following orders, like latest game.
oh, I can't wait for that.
I think, yeah, if I remember right, Torian tweeted a while back that if Death Battle wanted him to like animate a fight, and you know, if he had time for it, he might be able to do it.
Oh, wouldn't that be the most epic death battle cast? They don't say Torian's going to be on, and then it just shows them on screen. You just see Torian. Think how hyped the fan base would be.
Oh yeah, the fan base would go nuts.
That's like Death Battle's version of Tobey Maguire coming back.
Wait, then who's Andrew
Another-
Garfield in this case?
Okay, that was a little mean. I'm sorry, Andrew Garfield fans. Hey, who would be? Who was a Death Battle animator that left?
The one
Topic
that
for
made
another
reference-
day.
Trying to think of like a big name one, really.
There's probably some
That's-
we're just not thinking of.
So let's. Should we just wrap up with our final thoughts on this before we go off topic like we usually do?
Yeah, I will say not the best episode, but I definitely had fun with it, and it's far from like the worst episode like ever. Like far from that.
And, like, if I was to do like a top, how many episodes are they on at the moment?
Gogeta vs. Vegito was episode 171.
Wow, nearly 175. They gotta have a big episode for that, I reckon.
Well,
But yeah,
I mean, Goro
we were
vs. Machamp was 125, and they didn't treat that as a milestone. So
fair enough. Yeah, if I was to like do like I don't know a best like if I was to rank them based on that number, which I don't plan to do,
oh yeah, that'd be too long a video.
I think I can imagine James Bond, John Wick maybe being in the top 50 for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, all I ask when I watch a death battle is just make it fun.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, unless Sean has anything to say,
Let's continue onwards.
okay, that would have been really awkward. Number 10, SpongeBob versus Aquaman.
Wow, I was
actually
drinking a tea.
Oh,
Oh my
God.
Sorry, what?
Are you okay?
Yeah,
I'm
I am amazed that it barely got top 10. I think it should be lower.
sorry, what?
I have it as number 14. Hey, Phil, where did you have it?
Sean in one
Number-
corner, Billy in the other. Let's get ready to rumble.
Didn't hear where he had it first.
Do you hear that on the microphone? My knuckles cracking.
Yeah, I heard it.
I have this at number 3.
Huh. Hey, what about you?
8.
Okay, that's... At least it's in the top 10, but... Sean, explain yourself, Shawnee boy!
Was so disrespectful to Super Friends Aquaman, it wasn't even fucking funny anymore rewatching it.
Okay, do you know what? I kind of have to agree with Sean on that, but I'll wait for him to finish this whole point before I go over that.
You know it's that bad. Bill, you even said in the podcast when we reviewed this episode that I did a better job of repping Aquaman.
Yeah, okay, but do you want to give your whole points? Is that like your only points? I'll try and
There's more to
evaluate.
it.
Okay,
There's
yeah.
more.
I'll add my points about that segment.
Oh, because like it felt like there was a lot of disrespect. Obviously, that's a big factor into this. Out of the emotional endings we got this season, this one was probably the worst out of all of them. There are a couple highlights, but another factor is that
Another cup of tea. now.
rewatching this, sure, the SpongeBob analysis was perfect for SpongeBob. It makes you, and the best way I can put this is that they started with a possible fan theory of the show, Bikini Bottom being based off a nuclear explosion or something like that. I forget the exact quote.
Yeah, that was that was kind of interesting that they kind of treated that as part of the lore to try and explain why there's like a civilization of like
I mean,
fish
how else do you
people.
explain it?
It's kind of funny to overthink things in cartoons, like unless they have like deep lore like in Marvel, DC, and all these other things we watch. When you think about, I only just recently discovered. Do you remember this cartoon on Cartoon Network called My Gym Partner's a Monkey?
Yes.
Yes.
He never explained why there's a school with animals that are somehow sentient, but they're also scared of actual animals. Just a thing. It's like they weren't humans that became animals or anything like that, and it is kind of funny with Death Battle Parody. That's like, yeah, how was evolution in SpongeBob?
Cartoons be
It's
whack,
different.
yo.
Yeah. It also shows just how ridiculous Toon Force was. I argue that this was probably the most one-sided matchup we've had in a long time.
I feel like even Quicksilver versus the Flash, at least Quicksilver had something to equal the Flash, well, until the Flash got serious.
If you go to the results screen of this one, they gave him the same amount of advantages that Harley Quinn had. Even people are saying, is that really an advantage?
Yeah.
It would have been a little bit better, especially with that ending, if SpongeBob actually got the name right.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I get what they were going for, but I just think it just would have hit home that little bit harder if he finally got the name right.
Yeah. And I've said this before, out of all Tom's performances, this was probably his weakest one, but not by that much. Especially towards like the beginning portion, it felt off.
I still think he absolutely nails the laugh, though.
Yeah. Also, Zach did make a cameo as Fred, which is kind of cool.
I love that, just the Great Neptune!
Oh. That's not what I was referring to, first of all.
Oh, alright. Because that was Zach's mouth.
Fred, I said Zach voiced Fred, who was the My Leg guy. He also voiced the Doodle Bobs.
Yeah,
yeah.
they actually named that fish, didn't they? And he's sort of become a part of the main cast.
Yeah. So how do we go from a burning city to it being all brit up and okay now? How the fuck did that happen?
You know what? It's like that one episode when Patrick starts asking, hey, if we're underwater, how can there be a fire? The fire just goes out.
Yeah. I love that.
That's just like, what the fuck happened?
It's SpongeBob.
Oh, God.
Soundtrack was also like everywhere too. Like the ending portion of it, at least. Like And Aquaman does summon that giant, like, whirlpool from Earth.
Sadly killing a jellyfish. R.I.P. jellyfish.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
I think it's the SpongeBob jellyfish as well. Like, that was a nice touch.
I think...
It's a super cartoony looking jellyfish amongst realistic looking fish.
It's just... not for me. I'm sorry, looking back on it. Oh, I think, to be fair, I'll pass it to May since he had it at number 8.
I'm not as angry as him as I am with you, Sean.
You agree with a lot of my points, to be fair.
The reason I'm not, because you made me not only choke on my tea, but now I've freaking backwashed into it, so now I need a new cuppa.
Jesus.
Why do you get that? Go ahead.
I've just been sitting here thinking of, like, what can I do to just represent Billy at this point in the recording? I already have something. But yeah, I still think this is a solid episode all around, and while, yeah, the Super Friends Aquaman disrespect is pretty heavy, I know that's, like, meant to represent just, like, how they went about researching this, because they originally thought, like, yeah, Super Friends Aquaman, like, yeah, everyone says he's lame, but he's from, like, this era of cartoons. He's gotta have something ridiculous, right? Oh, he doesn't. Ha.
Awkward.
Yeah, which is why, like, they have that
unintended.
Yeah, which is why Wiz has that whole... I mean, I thought I'd find some Popeye punching out the Animator feats, but no! He doesn't have that! Also, just, like, Wiz's whole turnaround on SpongeBob, where he's just, like, thinking, oh, come on, SpongeBob's pathetic. Oh, he's actually a god. Like, looking back, that's funny. And, like, well, yeah, Tom Shelf's performance as SpongeBob, like, okay, it's hard to match Tom Kenny, and SpongeBob has such an iconic voice, it's just like, yeah, I'm sorry, you got no chance. That sounds a lot more meaner than I actually intended to be. But I think the overall, like, mannerisms, like, he nails, and like I said, I think he absolutely, like, has the laugh down. So that more than makes up for it. My biggest gripe with the fight, well, gripes. That moment when Aquaman, like, sees all the other versions of himself and has that, like, breakdown, that's kind of hard to watch sometimes.
And honestly, where the did that portal even come from?
Yeah, okay. What was the green portals? They never explain that. Like, in the commentary, they do give something, but it's just... they were just there. That's literally it. They were just there. Yeah. I do think the fight is, like, the most fun when, like, the trident and the pencil come out. Just, like, all the doodle bobs getting thrown at Aquaman and sending SpongeBob to the other side of the universe. I just love the editing for that as well. Yeah, I do think it's a solid episode. I just like some others more. Billy?
And,
I'm gonna step back while you rip Sean a new asshole.
Gonna have 3 by the end of the day. Okay then, so, okay, I have listened to their points, and truth be told, after hearing them, I would think I would put this lower now. Then there's that other side of me, it's like, yeah, but it's SpongeBob, he's our childhood. So I think because I am sticking with him at number 3 with Aquaman. I do agree with a lot they said about the breakdown he had in the fight, like Aquaman having that mental breakdown. And yeah, they kind of taught into Aquaman, because at that point I was just kind of thinking, they really thought it was this one-sided, especially with the official comic version. Maybe just give him some comic book feats. And they do even say a lot of comic books from Super Friends do eventually go on to become like the versions they are now. Fun fact. Super Friends is meant to be set like during pre-Crisis. Just that, didn't continue the Super Friends cartoon. Oh, I do kind of agree. Maybe just have him fight the official one. Just give him something. It didn't matter the result. Upon saying that, though, yeah, I love SpongeBob. When this was announced after, what was the episode? It was Trunks versus Silver, right? This episode.
Yes.
And yeah, when I saw the moment I saw the tease, like this battle's going at the bottom of the ocean, I was like, okay, there's all that dramatic music, and then it just shows SpongeBob just getting out, and then it just plays his theme tune. It's like, I'm sorry, what? And yeah, just realizing just how stupid OP SpongeBob is. Because as someone who was a SpongeBob fan, I knew he had Toon Force, but I didn't think it was going to be on the level of Popeye or Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse. Boy, was I wrong.
I still love just like Wiz's whole thing at the end. Just the whole, have you been listening to anything I've been saying?
Yeah,
when just freaking out about that.
Thing that killed me the most. This episode has the fastest character in the entire series. It is SpongeBob.
Oh, that can be measured anyway.
Fastest calculable speed feat.
And that's still implying that he's faster than any other character has been on this.
There are also those who just have like limitless speed, like Archie Sonic, the Flashes, and well, just any Archie character that has a super form.
I kind of want to wonder who would win between Archie Sonic and SpongeBob now. It's like, have we found another character that could rival him? Can you imagine that? He tries.
Go nuts.
Can you imagine he tries to like use the erase him from history, and SpongeBob just laughs? Then we have SpongeBob going, great Neptune. Also, we have Sonic doing it. Oh god, Sonic with realistic lips. Oh god, I just remembered the original movie design now.
Oh god, don't remind me of that abomination.
Can we erase that one? Can he be in a death battle just to die?
I would welcome that.
I think that's the one character we'd be okay with getting trashed on. As for the fight itself, so many references
Fuck
to...
you, Sean!
Oh god, what did he just post? It looks like he's pelvic thrusting in this gif. Oh god. And yeah, do you know what? The fight itself, so many references to SpongeBob video games, the movies, the I saved the city, my leg! Like, that was just brilliant. And, what else? Oh yeah, and just the fact that, Aquaman tries to mind control him, and SpongeBob just laughs and hits him in the gut with the bubble rocket. And despite where SpongeBob's actually trying to comfort Aquaman was very in character. And I also kind of like... I know people are saying, like, the memorial was kind of done as a joke, but at the same time, at least SpongeBob honored it, and he called him number one. To me, that's canon now. That gravestone he goes to in SpongeBob, that is Aquaman.
Really not, because it says Ocean Man.
Oh yes, it was
Also,
Smelly Worthington.
Also, I don't remember Aquaman having that hat.
Do you know of? But,
I mean, I don't know what he gets up to in his spare time.
Fucking fish.
Wait, didn't he fuck that squirrel?
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah, that was great. I just love this episode.
I think that was a Chad line. That's just one he just threw in there, and Liam decided, nah, I'm just keeping that in the episode because lols.
I will say, I don't like how a lot of people in the community are also trying to trash on Aquaman this episode. Because obviously a lot of people are going to go into this, they grew up with more SpongeBob than they did Super Friends. Like, when did Super Friends come out? Like the 1980s?
I think they said 60s and 70s.
Late 60s, early 70s.
Right, so I think a lot of us are going to have more attention to SpongeBob, but yeah, I think of being a DC fan in the Death Battle community, it could just be from the communities I've gone to. It's really awkward to be a DC fan or trying to for people to be hyped about.
Oh,
It's like, because even for
I know that pain, my guy.
yeah, I'm pretty sure Mate does. It is kind of shameful that there are some franchises that if they get into Death Battle, it's going to be an uphill battle from the community more than the fight itself.
I just ignore a lot of the community at this point.
It was kind of hard to hear. I like to imagine maybe this is just from the vocal minority. But yeah, it was just a bit awkward going into a lot of community and them just tearing Super Friends Aquaman apart. But at the same time, though, I was hyped that SpongeBob was getting so much attention from like, the community because I was really happy for this. And it was really great to see... Overall, I just really liked this episode, really. It was great, it was nostalgic, and, you know, my boy SpongeBob got in. I can only hope Patrick's next.
I think they've talked on cast about Patrick versus Goofy.
Be down for that. I'll be glad to rep for my boy.
And if I remember right, I think there's a brand and commission track for Patrick versus Ed.
That's also one I'll be into, though, given how stupid powerful SpongeBob is, and because remember when SpongeBob tore apart that universe, Patrick survived it, and then he erased SpongeBob. I think Ed is going to be in for a tough fight as well. Yeah, overall, I can understand why May and Dawn are a little bit against this episode due to the amount of like shitting on Aquaman.
I mean, it's also because I just enjoyed other episodes a bit more.
Yeah, I get that. But I just had so much attachment to this. I really feel like this season I had a lot of characters I grew up with. So that's why I'm kind of having this as almost my best season for Death Battle. I could talk about how much I love this episode. We talked about it and lads discussed Death Battle. I did a reaction to it. Just watch those if you want my full nerdy side coming out.
This is somehow my most popular reaction and my most popular video on my channel. What the fuck?
Oh God, yeah, nearly at 10,000 your SpongeBob vs. Aquaman video.
I don't know how.
SpongeBob, man. Don't have to explain shit. It's true, though.
Bringing back an old joke.
And then we've said enough about this. I don't want to go for too long because I know Sean's got important things to do. Like, I love this episode. It's not at number one, but you know what?
We still got 2 hours. We're fine.
I did love this episode, though, and I can't wait for more SpongeBob episodes in the future, I hope.
Or even just cartoon episodes. Foreshadowing for next season.
Hint, hint. Hint.
Alright, are we good to move on?
Yeah, I've said my piece before I continue rambling.
Alright. At number 9, we have Gogeta versus Vegito.
I had it at number 7, but number 9 is not too bad. I can understand why it didn't cross the top 5.
I also had it at number 7.
I had this at number 9.
Okay. I think that's not too bad of a spot. I feel like if I had to put it in one of those, like, I feel like either 7 to 9 is not bad. Made the top 10. That should say something.
Yeah.
Oh. I think, honestly, this was a solid season finale and a solid episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Wasn't on Zatanna versus Popeye levels. However, I was still hyped for it because, you know, I love Dragon Ball and I was just excited to see this debate settled in a way.
Yeah, one of the closest fights of the season for sure. And they were like, the Blender team is going to be doing this one. And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, okay, they're going to excel at this because Dragon Ball content's in their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like how I mentioned, while they might not be the best at like hand-to-hand fights, they have ways to like work around that. Visual effects. This is Dragon Ball.
Yeah. If someone can correct me on this, isn't this the first like 3D Dragon Ball fight we've had since Goku vs Superman 2?
Hulk versus Broly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what now? Because I was really. I was thinking, like, I know there's another 3D fight they did before this one, but for the life of me, I couldn't remember at the top of my head.
Yeah. I still remember some people saying, "Oh my god, this is the same series fight we've had since." I think people say Meta vs. Carolina, or like.
No. Mega Man Battle Royale.
The Mega Man Battle Royale, and I'm just like, Red versus Blue. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
It was still a good episode.
I forgot it existed for a while.
I mean, people were a bit meh about it, because Red vs. Blue, as much as it was a big Machinima series, wasn't really a hyped Death Battle episode. Like, the Death Battle community are not big Red vs. Blue fans from what I've seen on Discord servers.
Speaking of the Death Battle community on Discord servers, they weren't big on this finale, because of course they weren't.
I mean, that was only one server I saw. I did see one server that was actually pretty curious at how they would handle this, especially for a finale. I do agree with some people, like, maybe it shouldn't have been the big finale. I feel like it would have been okay as, like, mid-finale, and I'm like...
But what if it was a season opener?
I don't think so, nah. I think
the debate itself makes it an interesting finale choice, though, if you take a look at it. That?
Yeah. Like, here's the thing, like, people say, like, oh, but there's nothing for another community to get involved, it's just Dragon Ball stuff. Like, are you really telling me no one in Dragon Ball has debated this? No, this is like one of the biggest debates in the Dragon Ball community, because people are like, what about Goku versus Vegeta? No one debates that.
It even got to YouTuber, I think his name's Rhyme Style, does like Dragon Ball Fighters content. He took a look at it.
Dragon Ball fans love this episode, for what I'm saying. Like, I have like app on my PC and laptop that make me see the dislike and like ratio. This episode is pretty positive with the likes and dislikes.
I think another big positive for this episode is just that soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtrack is Dragon Ball hype personified.
Yeah, when I was rewatching it, when I was ranking this all the episodes, I was like, originally I was actually thinking about putting this at number 9. But then I rewatching it again, I was like, nah, do you know what? Nah, this episode was fire. Also done nice little touches they add to it, like Vegito, before the Dragon Fist strikes him, he activates Kaioken during the Kamehameha.
Yeah, I think I've also heard people say you might be able to see Gogeta activate Blue Evolved at the same time.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that when we
It's just
went
harder
live.
to make out.
Yeah. So, the negatives of this, unless there's any more positives we want to bring up.
I've said my piece, but I love this episode, and I have it at number 7 in case I never said. It's at number 7 for me.
One of the only reasons I have it as number 9 is because of like two small things for me personally. Before their Super Saiyan transformations, the models don't look the best. Mostly because I'm not used to them with like black hair and everything.
I suppose, yeah.
And also, the ending to me was confusing. Before people say anything, remember, Sean, no watch Dragon Ball.
Fair enough. I can answer your questions, whippersnapper.
Because, so, why don't you explain to me the whole stone thing?
Yeah, okay, so... it's a reference to the Buu saga when Vegeta sacrificed himself with the final explosion to take out Majin Buu. He expelled all of his energy, so he was basically just a stone statue.
So to be clear, he technically wasn't stone, he dissolved. He basically became ash, but it was still... Okay, I know, that is not how dust or ash would work.
Yeah.
But cinematically, it's cool, and it's even more heartbreaking when you see the character dissolve. So that's what they were going for, they were just trying to recreate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
It ended with the growth fest, like, come on, that was cool.
I like that. And it's like,
I thought it was cool, I just didn't get it.
It was just like, hey, good fight. Fist bump.
I think the only negative I can think of as of now, or at the top of my head, Lanny kind of stole the voice in every scene.
It's
I was
Lanny.
watching
Hey, you know what's funny? I think Bill's actually about to say what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Broboscast tried to say, what was the name of the other actor? Michael something?
Michael Kovac.
Michael Cole. Yeah.
They did say there were scenes where Michael did steal it over Lanny. No, I rewatched it. I even rewatched it before we recorded this. No, they didn't. Sorry, Michael, but Lanny just overshadowed you a lot. Not saying that I didn't hear him at all, but It really felt like Lanny was giving it his all. And I can imagine he was really excited to finally do the fusion.
Yeah, just kind of a shame he didn't get to do it with Masako after all this time.
Ah, that would have been so good. I feel like that might have even helped the hype for this even more.
Yeah, and I know they said on Fireside that when it comes to like, having Goku in another episode, they want to get someone who sounds a bit more like Sean Schemmel. So they probably won't get Moscow back, unfortunately. But
That's a shame.
yeah, and even more like a bit confusing is just like I watched so many reactions to this fight. So many people mistook Michael for Masako.
I don't.
It's like
get
that reflex. It's that reflex. A lot of people think Team 4-Star when they think Dragon Ball.
Yeah, but it's just like he also didn't sound that far off.
Happened the same with Goku Black. Many like okay, don't get me wrong.
Oh no, Goku Black, I
understand-
knew that wasn't Masako from the start.
Yeah, like, I've seen so many people do that, and even some people I reacted to like after that season were all saying it. I don't hear it. Masako has a very distinct voice when it comes to voicing Goku. I've rarely ever heard him change it. The only time I've ever heard him change it was one when Ginyu took over his body, and he put on his full-on British accent, which was hilarious. And also when he did that short parody of Goku Black when he was evil.
Yeah, there's also in Dragon Ball R&R when he goes Super Saiyan 3.
Yeah.
By the way, watch Dragon Ball R&R, it's great. Plus, it has Ranch. Let's go.
What happened to Launch?
I don't know.
Those old chestnuts.
I don't
I
have
said
anything else
monkeys,
to
that
add.
is.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add to this one.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier how they made Apocalypse sound a bit more grandiose. I kind of feel that way with Gogeta. I feel like they hyped him up a bit more than Vegito to a point where I can kind of notice it.
I might have to rewatch it again after we're recording, because even when you said that on the live podcast, I didn't really notice it, really.
I mean, I think it's just because they spent a good chunk of Vegito's analysis just like, yeah, his name's not that great, why couldn't they have just gone with this? Well, they translated it this way. Oh god, that's even worse.
Yeah. I did see some comments that were saying that's offensive to Japanese culture, and I was just like, how's that offensive? Oh, where America has dick. Like, we're allowed to make a fun of other names, you know. But I don't know. It's like, it seems as though the internet's that mindset. If you make fun of another culture's name, you're suddenly racist. So yeah, apparently Death Battle are racist now, according to some people.
Aye.
I think one of my favorite exchanges has to be when they say, not bad, want to kick it up a notch? Sure, but how about some variety? And then we get Super Saiyan Blue versus Super Saiyan 4.
That was fire.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people might question, well then why does Gogeta go blue, like, not long afterwards? Well, because his tail got grabbed. Duh. Like, once he realized, oh, he's just gonna grab my tail again, just like, nope! Getting rid of it, going blue.
Yeah, listen. One man should never grab another man's tail. Unless you're into that.
Well, I mean, I know Saiyans definitely aren't.
Because that's equivalent of your spine being pulled.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's not a good feeling. Imagine having your spine just grabbed.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
If you're into that. I won't judge you. Verbally.
Yeah. Also, just like the way they just like change up locations, just like they're fighting on the lookout. Now they're on Snake Way. Sorry, just the amount of the reactors I saw that got that wrong.
Again, Sean, no watch Dragon Ball.
I'll be honest, I tend to forget that location's name.
Yeah.
At
Sean,
least I said it was a snake.
Sean.
I just call it the Dragon Road.
Oh boy. Now they're at Kame House. Now they're in the hyperbolic time chamber. So they just go all over the place, and the bluff Kamehameha made an appearance.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, that's Snake Road. Wait, isn't that Roshi's house? And that was it.
At least they didn't break Kame House.
Again.
Oh yeah, they broke that with Jiraiya versus Roshi. I've actually loved it as a nice little detail. You could have seen those two fighting in the background. That would have been nice.
Yeah, it would have been like Harley Jinx, where you just briefly see Blake and Mikasa.
Yeah, I would have liked something like that. I know that, that's just another bit of work for the editors and animators, but yeah, I do like little touches like that. But I could talk about how good I love this episode. I think I've said my piece now. I don't want to drag it on.
Oh, ha.
I'm glad you got it. I was wondering.
I just want to say, again, I gotta preference this. We got the Bury the Light guy on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
How in the fuck did Brandon do that?
Magic, bitches.
You know what? It's the joke. It's just,
you know what?
Awesome.
He's Brandon Yates. He ain't got to explain shit.
Yeah.
He is the god of versus music.
He is. He really is.